Well, hello there, Richard Tubb here. It's Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's time for Tubb Talk Live. Richard Tubb here at home in the studio garage in Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Now, this is the live show where I speak to the smartest, most successful people in the managed service provider industry, giving you the opportunity to learn from them with the tips, techniques, tools, and practices that can help you to grow your IT business. As always, we are very interactive on Tubb Talk Live. So if you're joining us via LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're joining us from, anywhere else in the world, let us know in the comments and we will give you a shout out today. Now, if you've got any questions at all for our guest today or any comments whatsoever, we are monitoring all social media channels, so I will pause regularly to answer your questions and to give you a shout out. Now, without further ado, on to our main event for today. I am very excited to be joined by our guest today, Blair Lyon. Now, Blair is the VP Cloud Experience for Linode. Linode accelerates innovation by making cloud computing simple, accessible, and affordable to all. It was founded in 2003. Linode really were pioneers for the cloud computing industry. And just last week, breaking news, they announced their acquisition by Akamai for $900 million. No small change there. Now, Blair himself is a sales, marketing, and technology expert with over 25 years' experience building businesses and delivering award-winning solutions for the Fortune 1000. Blair, welcome to Tubb Talk Live. Where are you joining us from today?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Richard. So I'm here in Philadelphia, USA. We're about an hour and a half south of New York City.
Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate you joining us today. And what about this timing, huh? So I just mentioned the acquisition, lots and lots of money there. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on with the show.
Sure.
But I referred to the fact Linode is one of the pioneers in the cloud computing space. How do you actually describe what Linode does?
Well, I mean, probably the easiest thing to do is to talk about who we're like. I mean, we're very similar to Amazon AWS or Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure. So we're a cloud computing company. And the core of cloud computing is really three core things. It's compute power. So these are servers, virtualized servers that you can access over the internet. There also is storage. So these things are like block and object storage, where you house your data and your content. And then the network itself. So how you get your application or your content delivered throughout the internet. So it's really those three core things make up cloud computing.
Now, Linode's one of those companies, if you know, you know. And if you don't, Linode might be a new face to you. So tell us a little bit more about the company itself. You know, how big are you? How many locations? That type of thing.
Yeah, so I mean, Linode, as you said, has been around since 2003. So we were actually launched 3 years before Amazon launched their AWS product, which is pretty cool. So we've really been one of the pioneers in the space for a long time, but we chose a different path where Amazon sort of focused on the big enterprise. Linode really focused on the individual developer, small teams, SMBs, and startups that were looking for access, looking for the ability to harness, this amazing power of cloud computing, but didn't necessarily have, the huge resources and money to do it the way that the early days of cloud did. Let's say like a Salesforce.com or even Amazon did with their e-commerce business. So for us, we've been focusing on how do we make it more accessible to the average developer with a great idea. And that's really what we've done. So the company's been bootstrapped since the beginning. So we don't have any outside investors. We never took any money. We were profitable, 19 years in a row now, which is really exciting. And we've grown up with our customers. And now we have 11 data centers around the world. We service over 185 countries. We have at any one particular time over 150 plus thousand live customers. We have about well over 1 million customer accounts. So we've been servicing, this market for a long time, maybe, quietly, for those of you who don't know Linode. But one of the things that typically people come to us for is much, much better pricing. We end up being about half the cost of AWS. And of course, our support and service. We're one of the only cloud providers that offers free telephone support to every user, whether you spend $5 with us or you spend tens of thousands of dollars a month with us. So that level of sort of concierge support is one of the things that has made Linode famous.
Yeah, so lots of managed service providers, IT support professionals watch this live show, can see the chats coming in already. Some people very familiar with Linode, others not so much. For those of you who are not familiar with Linode, but do follow my work online, you may have seen me talk for the past few months about the massive opportunity in managed services in the alternative cloud space. So managed service providers have been watching me maybe for quite some time talk about the alternative cloud provider space. Blair, for those who don't know, how would you describe what the alternative cloud is?
Well, that was a great segue, Richard, because the alternative cloud is just what it sounds like. It's an alternative cloud provider or cloud option for what we typically think about when we think of the cloud. We think of AWS, we think of Google Cloud, and that's all we sort of think about. We don't often think about what are this other tier of cloud providers. And what's happened is really over the last 3 or 4 years, there's been this growing category of alternative cloud. And these are providers like Linode. Think of OVH Cloud there in Europe, or DigitalOcean would be another one. These are cloud providers that aren't the big three, but are providers that have the capability of handling most of the workloads that a large hyperscaler cloud provider would, and being able to have enough of those kind of core capabilities to check enough boxes to be a viable alternative. And so when I say check the boxes, it means having all of the core compute and storage capability. You need to have object storage and block storage. You need to have containers like Kubernetes. You need to have things like GPUs. You need to, of course, have the uptime, 4 nines uptime. You need to have things like global support available in every country. So you need to be able to be a viable alternative for most enterprise or SMB workloads. And that's really where alternative cloud providers fall in. Now, it's a relatively new category, which is kind of interesting considering, Linode's been around since 2003. I think OVH since 99 or 2000. So we've been around a long time, but I think only until the last 3 or 4 years have we been able to check enough of those boxes, including data centers in every key region, to be a viable alternative. And this is super exciting because right now, with the evolution of multi-cloud and the need for better priced alternatives, better support, you're trying to find the right fit always with your providers, right? You're always trying to find the right fit for your business, and more choice in the market is wonderful. I don't think any of us would want one cloud to rule them all. That would not be a good thing. So more choice, better fit, better service, better pricing, when and where it's appropriate is great. And that's what the alternative cloud gives you.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. I'm going to pick up on a number of things that you said, including multi-cloud and redundancy, that type of thing, which is ironic considering we just cut out there, but we will get back to that. Something I do want to touch upon, though, is you have got a army of raving fans in this industry. As I said at the start of the show, those who know Linode really get it. Those that don't, you're about to get it. But you've got raving fans here in a way that I've not heard for, say, the big three, Microsoft, Google, that type of thing. Where do you think that comes from? Is it because you're so close to the community and making yourself so accessible? What would you say is the secret sauce there?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. I mean, we've always been dedicated to developers and open source. Linode was built on open source. Actually, Jeff Dyke's UML project way back when was really the key that unlocked a lot of the virtualization capability that Chris Aker, our founder, built Linode off of. And really, since then, we've been able to overinvest really in areas that typically, other companies that are either venture-backed or are driven by other sort of profit motives don't do, and things like support. I mean, we overinvest in support. We want to make sure that every customer has direct access to a Linux certified administrator, that we can be able to answer your questions no matter what. You don't have to pay for support tiers. You don't get handed off, to other people when you call. You just get direct access to really world-class, award-winning support, and that I think has changed. Changed the world for the better. Another thing that we invest a lot in is documentation, and not just product documentation, but real guides and how-tos on how to do things, how to build things. And you can build it on Linode or you can build it on other providers. It doesn't matter. Our documentation is set up so it's agnostic, and that's really cool. So we've always tried to give back to the community, provide great support, great pricing. We always provide more services, typically on our anniversary, our birthday every year, for the same price. So we're just able to do things that I think really developers trust and appreciate, which has been great.
Yeah, Tom Lawrence of Lawrence Business Systems, who many viewers will recognize from his wonderful YouTube channel, is a big fan as well, raves about you and there. But so many people in this space that you're building up, this real following. The support, I think, is real key to it. And what you've said there is going to strike a chord with so many people who are watching who have difficulty getting through to the support they need when they need it. Can we dig a little bit deeper into that? What does that actually look like behind the scenes for you in terms of scaling that and making sure that anybody who is a Linode customer gets the support they need when they want it?
Yeah, I mean, this is by far the best support service organization I've ever worked with or seen, even in my consulting days. It is just amazing what we have built here. So not only do we have fantastic self-service support, so we have a great Q&A resource where you can ask any type of questions or tap in, kind of just sort of the crowdsourcing of information. We have fantastic documentation. Our ticketing system is excellent. So if you want to put in a ticket or put in a call, and you can follow that way. And then, of course, the fact that we have telephone support that's ready for you. And then we don't have tiers, which I love, because normally when you think of reaching out to a provider, you think of, oh boy, how many different people am I going to talk to just to find hopefully somebody that can answer my question. And at Linode, we don't do that. We don't have that. So we have basically, you're going to get a certified Linux developer that you can talk to that can help you find the answer to your issue as quickly as possible. So that's a real game changer, and one of the things that our customers really love. And they also appreciate the fact that we're very focused on this audience, on servicing small to mid-sized companies, servicing startups. We understand kind of what your world looks like and what you're going through, and we want to be able to provide you kind of that wonderful direct access support or answers to your questions as quickly as possible and as authentically as possible. And I think that's one of the things that people appreciate. I mean, you can go and buy virtualized servers, almost anywhere, but it's that level of support that you get from a company like Linode that people really appreciate.
Yeah, I want to touch upon that a little bit more because we've got questions coming in. We are live and interactive today. So whether you are joining us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere else, get involved in the comments. Let us know where you're joining us from today. And if you've got any questions on the alternative cloud, on anything at all to do with cloud computing, and we'll ask our guest Blair Lyon today. Here's an interesting question that we've got through here. So Arne has asked, what's your favorite examples of how MSPs are using the alternative cloud to gain a competitive advantage? Now, I actually had that question prepared myself as well, but somebody in the audience has asked this, so I think it's a really good one. Give us some examples of where people are using the alternative cloud to gain a competitive advantage.
Well, one of the things that is a core attribute of the alternative cloud, whether it's us or our other kind of peers, is simplicity. If you are managing your own business, I ran my own technology agency for 10 years. So I understand what it takes to run a business and how you want to be able to maximize your resources and how you're always looking for opportunities to optimize or to simplify wherever you can. And if you're developing applications or managing hosting for a customer, you want that to be as easy as possible to manage, and you don't want to have a lot of overkill either. Do I need Amazon enterprise complexity at every single turn? Probably not, especially if you're working for other SMB customers who maybe have like an online ordering app or they have some other application that you're managing for them. What they need is really high reliable cloud, networking, storage, and compute, and they need to be able to have any questions answered or any concerns answered as quickly as possible. So trying to make things simple is really, really key. And especially right now, Richard, I mean, we're in this sort of talent war going on. It's so difficult for providers to be able to attract, let alone retain, really highly experienced full stack engineers these days. So it's very, very difficult. So you want to be able to, click the easy button wherever you possibly can on the infrastructure that you're managing and the providers that you're working with. And Linode really does that. We make it so much easier. If you want to deploy a Kubernetes cluster, it's like a one-click kind of capability. If you want to be able to, with our new managed database services, be able to set up a MongoDB or something like that, we'll have the capability of making that easy for you. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible, both from kind of the expertise that you need to run it, but then also when it comes to looking for margin opportunities, that's where the pricing and the performance come in. So being able to save half or more on your cloud costs is material for MSPs and for IT shops and systems integrators. So being able to save those dollars, especially when you don't need all that big overhead and enterprise complexity, is really important. And then finally, I would say just the customer experience. You want to make sure that you can deliver a great customer experience really at every turn, so that you can hopefully retain those customers, let alone get referrals. So that's really important and important to us. And that's why having that direct access on the support side really makes a difference and will give you a competitive advantage as an MSP.
Yeah, we've got plenty of questions around this. I want to give a shout out for a few people joining us. We've got Craig Allen, Different Mindset. We've got Daryl Ellis from Plan8 Technologies watching on LinkedIn. We've got a lot of questions. I'm going to paraphrase here because a number of people have, I guess, feel as though they're putting you on the spot there and saying they're using Microsoft or Amazon at the moment. Why would they use Linode instead? And that's paraphrasing a lot of different questions there. You've answered some of it. Anything else to add to that?
Well, I mean, it's all about the right fit. What I think is great is when you have multiple arrows in your quiver. So to really standardize on just one cloud provider probably doesn't make a lot of sense. If you can have multiple options and then you can choose the right provider for the right use case or workload, then you'll have more flexibility. One of the other things that I like to, really is a, I don't want to say it's a philosophy or it's a point of view, but one of the things that alternative cloud really champions is this idea of being in more control of your destiny. So controlling more of the middleware between your applications and the cloud provider. And what I mean by that is being more portable, being more cloud agnostic, trying to avoid sort of those walled gardens of the big cloud providers where you can get stuck in vendor lock-in or other issues. So if you can invest a little bit more time up front to do the architecture, whether using Terraform or some other products, to be able to control the cloud providers and kind of distance yourself a little bit so you don't get caught in that lock-in, I think is the ideal. Because then you can do multi-cloud configurations, you can find the right mix, the right balance of cloud provider capabilities for each particular use case. And that's going to put you in more control. You're going to get to have more opportunities for optimization, more opportunities to drive more profits. And then you always will be able to provide where is the simplest path, right, for me to do this. Right. Because if I can make things simpler, then I can spend more of my time either providing other services to my customers or developing other capabilities to sell to my customers.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about the tech, about use cases as we go on today, and I can see people are interested in that. But I think, we're sort of 15 minutes or so into the interview here. I alluded to it right at the start. We've got to touch upon the big news, and that's the acquisition, $900 million acquisition by Akamai. Akamai, can you tell us a little bit more about that and what it means for the business?
Well, for those of you who know us, I mean, 19 years without taking a single dime from anybody. So we probably had lots of opportunities along the way to sell the company or to take funding, and we chose not to, because we wanted to do what was right for our customers and what was right for us. And only if we were to find the perfect fit would we ever do anything like this. And so Chris Aker, our founder and CEO, put that challenge out there and said, if we can find something where it's really a 1 + 1 equals 3 thing, really at every part of our business, for our customers, for our employees, for the market, then I might consider it. And so that was one of the key things. And then the other was, if you think about really everything that you want to do in cloud infrastructure, most everything gets easier as you increase scale. So a lot of our customers that have grown up with us and brought us into their businesses or built their startups on us have asked for more scale, more locations, more capabilities, more services. And so to do that does require more scale. And being able to partner with Akamai really provides us tremendous more scale. It also helps us round out a couple of the key pieces on that we really didn't have. If you think about Linode, we focus on sort of the compute and the origin or the data storage, but we don't have the CDN capability or the security capability to push things out to the edge. And so if you could provide that all under one roof, would really create something super powerful, where we could do true cloud to edge and the security layer at a best-in-class perspective and at any scale. Whether you need a $5 Linode or you need to be able to do something super advanced on the enterprise side. And that's of course what Amazon does and the others. They service all markets and all use cases. So this is going to provide us the capability to do that. And also give us the capability to provide a really exciting new option in the marketplace. Because if you think about what are your options for this level, like really being able to do things all the way from something small to an SMB stage, all the way up to enterprise, now we can do it, but with a new, market choice, that you can choose from. And that's really this Linode Akamai combination. So I kind of think of it as like you have the alternative cloud, and then you sort of have this new tier even above that, which is this cloud to edge, end-to-end solution, and that's really what Akamai and Linode combined gives us.
Yeah. So VP of Cloud Experience. Obviously, it's obvious to anybody watching and listening to you how passionate you are about making sure that customers, Linode customers, clients get what they need to service their clients and that. How are you going to make sure that, with the acquisition now, as the business grows, you're on the cusp of being super, super popular? There's going to be a lot of people know about you as a result of this. How are you going to make sure to keep the levels of service as you grow as a business?
Yeah, and the good news is that Akamai believes in our support focus. They already have about 8,000 employees. 2,000 of them are on their service side. So at Linode, we're about 260, 270 employees. About over 100 are on our support side. So one of the things that Tom Layton, their CEO, said in their earnings announcement, and has said several times to us, is that differentiating their business or combined business based on support is fundamental to their strategy. So that was an absolute prerequisite for us to even consider partnering with them. Was we needed to have shared vision and alignment around really supporting our customers and being able to provide this very, very high level of support. I think that's, it's what we all sell to a certain degree is relatively commoditized. I mean, our server on a rack in a data center is similar in many ways to like an Amazon, server on a rack in a data center. But the differentiators really come in these other nuanced areas, whether it's beyond price, on how we bundle services together, or on things like support. And we want to differentiate ourselves on how we deliver support.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. Can we talk tech for a moment, Blair?
Sure.
I'd like to get techie with these things. What sort of services do Linode offer? So, for anybody unfamiliar, with what you do you dedicated CPU, shared CPU, bare metal, all those type of things? What sort of services are there?
Absolutely. I mean, we basically cover all the other core primitives. Is one of the ways that people would talk about it. So we have, of course, all the compute options, and this ranges from simple shared instances all the way to dedicated instances where you can have control over your CPU and make sure you're getting the maximum performance, all the way up to GPUs for things like AI and machine learning and gaming. So we have a full range there. And then we also are offering, coming soon, is our bare metal service. So for those that need 100% control of the box and want to be able to really control from a security standpoint as well as performance, you can get bare metal servers from Linode. And then one of the other things is really exciting, of course, is Kubernetes, the ability to containerize your applications for things like auto scaling and self-healing and a bunch of other wonderful capabilities that Kubernetes gives you. We have a managed Kubernetes service. And then when it comes to the storage side, we sort of have the core pieces that you need, whether it's object storage, S3 compatible object storage, which can be your origin to be able to then deliver via Akamai CDN capability, or our block storage, which we've just been rolling out a super exciting new upgrade. So now we have the fastest block storage on the planet right now with our NVMe block storage. So incredibly fast, incredibly performant block storage. So that's exciting. We also, of course, have things like backups. And then we get into all kinds of networking capability. We have DDoS protection and cloud firewall and VLANs for networking side. And then we're going to be even more excited to get additional higher levels of DDoS and security capabilities like WAF with our partnership now with Akamai. So lots of new things coming as well, along with sort of the core capabilities that Linode offers.
Yeah, I want to touch upon something you mentioned then. That's about security. So again, for anybody who's unfamiliar with Linodes, there's going to be some watching today. One of the first questions is going to be, okay, security side of things. So you've mentioned some of the areas that you can sort of mitigate risk there. Firewalls, VLAN options, stuff like that. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you as a company, how Linode as a company manage cybersecurity? Because you're a big target.
Yeah, I mean, by far the number one thing that we hear when we talk to businesses is they want to talk about security. And security is a broad range of things. Are you talking about securing stuff for your customers? You're talking about Linode security, talking about your own security, data security, doing mitigation against ransomware, things like that. So there's a wide range of conversations to have about it. So here at Linode, we're thrilled that we can now extend in a dramatic way our security capabilities. So right now, as I mentioned, we offer things like DDoS protection and cloud firewall and VLANs, but the stuff that Akamai does is amazing. They've been building up their capabilities as well as bringing on new partners like Guardicore that allow them to be able to mitigate ransomware. So just some really exciting capabilities to overlay some of the best security on the planet with a combination of Linode compute. Is going to be really, really cool. So I'm excited to see how that integration and how those things roll out and how we can make them affordable and accessible to our individual audience as well as our SMBs and MSPs. So it's going to be really cool. But I mean, these are things that when we looked at our roadmap and how we're going to grow, I mean, to be able to build out even a CDN functionality or a WAF or some of these other capabilities is not easy. I mean, they're completely different, more challenging technical hurdles to overcome. And companies like Akamai, who invented the CDN and has really led the market with some of their capabilities and security, already have this figured out. So if we can, make the connections and work on our integration over the next months to come, we should be able to offer more of these things to our customers.
Yeah. Let's talk about something you mentioned earlier on, and that's the multi-cloud. So we touched upon CDM, we touched upon redundancy and things like that. So multi-cloud, can we go a little bit deeper on that? So why would anybody who is perhaps watching or listening today has already got a relationship with perhaps one of the big three, let's be honest here, why would they look at Linode? What is the multi-cloud about, and what benefits does that bring to IT companies?
Well, I think we just experienced it earlier, didn't we, Richard?
We did.
When we lost connection, and if anyone's on Slack today, you're probably experiencing some of that too. Is that one of the keys for multi-cloud is that people want to have more redundancy and resiliency and the ability to fail over to another either a location or in this context even another provider. So that's typically what people think about. But a lot of folks, when we look at most of our business customers, most of them are running multi-cloud configurations. When we interview businesses, 90+% have some sort of multi-cloud strategy either already underway or in the works. So it just makes sense that you want to be able to apply different workloads and different use cases to different providers that have different capabilities. Whether it's you have maybe it's about a geolocation, you have a server, a data center in a particular location, or you want to be able to tap into availability zones in a particular spot, or you want to be able to tap into better price performance from one provider to another. So there's a wide variety of reasons why people deploy multi-cloud, but it just makes a lot of sense. The good news is that it's becoming easier and easier to do. With, like I said, products like Terraform and others, you can make it easier to manage and orchestrate different cloud providers. And this is really our belief, is we don't want to build a bunch of proprietary frameworks that make it difficult for you to move. We want to make it really easy for you to move. Portability, I think, is really the key word going into this year, is how do we make our workloads portable? And if they are, then you can have lots of flexibility to cost optimize, to do failovers, to do resiliency, to do all kinds of things that a little bit more setup up front is going to pay dividends on the back end.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. We are live and in color today. If you have any questions around the alternative cloud, if you have any questions around multi-cloud, anything that we've been talking about today, please let us know in the chat on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, YouTube, wherever you're watching us for. We are monitoring all channels. Again, we've got, and I'm going to paraphrase some of these because a number of people have asked. Somebody said, bottom line here, how do you position Linode against the likes of Google, Microsoft, and Amazon? So let's put you on the spot here a little bit. Somebody comes to you and says, we already work with the big three. Why would we work with you?
What it comes down to is really simplicity and price performance and support. Those are the three things. So when we talk to either our customers or to potential future customers, they often have experienced some issue, right? So whether it's like we experienced earlier today, maybe the data center went down or something like that, or maybe it was a really poor customer support experience, or maybe a surprise bill. That's kind of the classic AWS fear, is I'm going to get some surprise bill, out of nowhere, and I'm going to have to kind of eat the cost on that. Or I'm having some other sort of issue. Maybe it's a competitive issue. A lot of us are now competing with our cloud provider, whether it's Amazon or someone else. So that's really a bummer that we have to be in that situation. Or our data is being resold or reused without our permission. That's an issue that some people highlight Google for. So I think there's lots of issues or reasons why you may want to look for an alternative cloud provider. And it just has to be, does one of those issues rise up to enough pain where it really makes sense? So that's typically what we hear when we talk to folks. But I think it just comes down to just trying to find the right fit. The days of I can only go with AWS to host my application are over. It's proven that alternative cloud providers and others can provide great reliability, great service, great support, and be able to do so, in a very organized, powerful way. So I think it's just finding the right fit for you. And if you have options are always good in my mind, especially if something happens or things change or suddenly you find your business now competing with Amazon. It might be nice to have an alternative.
Yeah, it's not so much a question for you. We've got a little bit of chit chat about why I personally have been a champion of the alternative cloud, of alternative providers. I'll answer that openly and honestly here. To add to something that Blair said earlier, I believe that positive disruption is a really good thing for our industry because, it creates space, it creates margin for innovation, it creates ideas. So for all of those reasons, what Linode are doing and other players in this space as well, I think is absolutely a good thing. But Blair, let me, sort of turn that back to you. For anybody watching this who's very familiar with maybe the big three for all the reasons that you've just talked about, but has come across Linode perhaps through our conversation today and is looking for, okay, where do I get started on understanding more about the alternative cloud and the benefits of it? Where would you recommend people sort of dip their toe in the water and have a look around?
Well, I mean, that's what's so nice about this is that you can try Linode or other alternative cloud providers typically for free. So we offer $100 free credit for you to try us out. You can try us out for 60 days and see if you like it. So you go to our website right now and sign up off the homepage. You'll get $100 free credit. And I think that's the best way. I mean, this is what's so awesome about it is you can try it out, see if you like it, even put in a support call or a support ticket and experience that and see if it works for you. It may not be the best fit for you, but it's worth checking out. And I think if you can check it out for free, you get a chance to see how our APIs are structured, how our documentation is set up, and how our user interface for our cloud manager. And you'll probably see a lot of differences. And if it's a good fit for you, hopefully you'll give it a try.
Yeah, so we'll include all of Blair's contact details, everything else to get in touch with the Linode team. We'll include that in the show notes as well, so have no fear about that. Do want to give a shout out, though, because we've got a number of managed service providers with specific questions. So Linode and Blair, you invited me to collaborate with you recently and put together an ebook that has, if I say so myself, has got really good feedback. And there, so it's the MSP's Guide to Modern Cloud Infrastructure. It's a free download if you want to go to tublog.co.uk/Linode. Free download, and if I say so myself, it's rather a good read. So thank you, Blair, publicly for inviting me to collaborate with you on that one. Now, I want to go back to some of the solutions that we've mentioned. You've mentioned all manner of things. And of course, asking what you can do with the cloud is like asking how long is a piece of string. There's multiple different options there. But for you, I know you enjoy technology, you enjoy building technology companies. What are some of the most innovative sort of solutions that you've seen Linode clients put together?
Well, I mean, and there's all kinds of exciting things. I mean, for the most part, a lot of our clients will use this for what you would expect to use cloud for. You're either going to be, managing and building your application, or you're going to be hosting websites. A lot of times, whether it's in a multi-cloud framework, they'll use this for like data backup or recovery or an automated failover. But we're seeing all kinds of interesting use cases. A lot of video streaming and media streaming. We're seeing things on the machine learning side, which has been pretty cool. Lots of really interesting applications for machine learning. We've also seen some cool stuff for security testing, which is kind of an unusual one. I didn't think that would be a big thing, but for pen testing and other kinds of security testing, Linode has been a great option for people for that. So it really ranges. As you said, there's like an N number of potential use cases. But if you have an application, or if you have a website, or if you have an idea that needs to be delivered and serviced over the internet, Linode probably has a use case in our use case library, which will match up with what you're doing.
Yeah. What are some of the communities that you enjoy getting involved in as yourself? Linode, as I mentioned earlier, I specifically said Tom Lawrence, and he's very well known to the MSP community, speaks very well of Linode, but you're very involved in the all manner of the wider community. What are some of the favorite communities you enjoy getting involved in?
I mean, I'm kind of a stickler around customer experience. So I tend to hang out with a lot of folks that are kind of in the design thinking space, where we're trying to sort of find that bridge between technology and process, and we're trying to overlay the actual human element inside of it. Because I always think technology is awesome, but if we can't understand or integrate it with how us as humans interact, it's kind of lost a little bit. So I often, I got involved working at a design thinking consulting firm for a little over 2.5 years. Was kind of always fascinated with Don Norman, who is kind of one of the gurus of design thinking, and wrote that book, Design of Everyday Things, which was super cool. But then I've also been following a couple of folks, which are my favorites. One of which kind of, I guess, is appropriate since we're talking about the alternative cloud category, is Dave Peterson. Him and his partners wrote a book called Category Kings, and so I often follow a lot of the things around how do you actually develop a category, and to a large extent, alternative cloud is its own category. So I often follow a lot of that, and then when it comes to like big ideas and trying to understand sort of the why behind things, I often and just speaking in general, I love Simon Sinek. So I often follow him, and I just love watching him speak. And I wish I could speak as well as he can. But when it gets into some of the things he talks about, I think it's super cool. And just the way that he looks at the world is really neat. So I follow a lot of Simon as well.
Yeah. I mentioned in your introduction, been involved in the tech industry 25 plus years now, a lot of success in the industry. Are there any individuals that you would consider mentors along the way on your journey?
Yeah, I mean, quite a few. I mean, when it comes to marketing and really interesting growing companies, Tim Kopp, who is the CMO of ExactTarget, is one of the guys that I've followed a long time. Jay Adelson is a good friend of mine. He's the last surviving founder of Equinix, who built out all the data centers. So I stay close with him. And when it comes to like content, I'm a big a fan of just developing great educational content. And one of the leaders in content development, content marketing is Jay Baer, at a firm called Convince and Convert. So I love listening to him and taking his ideas and trying to bring them to the market. So Jay's a good friend and a great mentor as well.
Oh, wonderful. I know a lot of people who listen to this show, watch this show, big fans. I had the opportunity to see Jay present in London just before the pandemic, I think it was. So maybe November 29 at Upreneur Summit. So again, for anybody watching this, we will include everybody that we've mentioned in the show notes as well. So if you're like, who was that person, and frantically scribbling things down, don't worry, we'll include everything in the show notes here. I've got a question for you, and it's more to do with logistics and management than anything else. So I just mentioned the pandemic. We can't go through any podcast interview or anything at all without talking about the impact that this has had on teams. You've got a distributed team. You've got people in all parts of the world. How do you personally manage those relationships and make sure that everybody's on the same page, regardless of the time zone or the distance between people?
Well, I mean, we're trying to figure it out like everybody else is. I mean, we were lucky that we were already relatively virtual as a company pre-pandemic. And then since we're a cloud computing company, I think we're a natural fit for being able to manage things through remote work. But and for us, we obviously are trying to stay connected as much as possible. Trying to do check-ins on people both from mental health perspective as well as work perspective. We of course use Slack, and we use things like Confluence to post all of our updated content. We do an internal newsletter as well. So we're trying to do as much as we can. I don't know if we've got it figured out, and I look forward to at least traveling again and being able to see more of my peers at the shows and be able to see us at the different offices. But it's not easy, and I wouldn't say that we have it all figured out. But it's been relatively easy for our business, just the makeup of our company and how we are designed to be able to manage it. I think the worst thing really has just been the lack of being able to go to events and to shows. Linode, we used to do probably close to 100 events a year, and to have all that sort of ground to a halt was just so sad, because we want to be out there. We want to be working with our channel partners. We want to be working with our developers. We want to be participating in a lot of these Linux conferences and so on. And for us to not be able to be there in person has been really sad. And we're really looking forward to things opening up and going bigger. Now with Akamai behind us and their dedicated support, we'll be able to do things in a much bigger way for our partners on the MSP side, as well as our developer audience as well.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed we'll be able to get out there. You and I haven't had the opportunity to actually say hello in person either, so I hope that happens at some point in the near future. Something that's on the mind, and again, this is very little to do with the technology, it's more to do with the culture of the business, but I'm so fascinated with how Linode have built up, raving fans, as I talked about. You've built such a good following from people, and I think a lot of it's to do with the culture. So forgive me if we sort of lean into this a little bit. In terms of recruitment, bringing the right people into your business, how do you make sure that you've got the right people coming in? And as you grow as a business, which clearly you've business for you has exploded as a result of the pandemic, and before that as well. How do you make sure you're getting the right people in and not just the only available people, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to fit. I mean, we're not in any hurry. We're going to do the right thing. We're going to make sure that we find the right fit for the people that want to join us. I mean, if you believe in open source and you believe in things like being cloud agnostic, if you believe in being able to push back on sort of the drivers of complexity and things like lock-in, then you're probably a good fit for us. The other core to our belief system is that the customer always comes first, and we will always bend over backwards to provide the best possible support and customer experience we can, and that'll often contradict things like profitability and other kinds of more money oriented goals. And so that's okay, because we want to do what's right for our customers, and we want to do what's right for this community. And if we're going to be able to fulfill on our mission that you touched on earlier, I mean, our mission is to accelerate innovation by making cloud computing simple, affordable, and accessible to everybody. Not just the rich and famous out there. So we want to be able to continue to drive that mission into the future, because we believe fundamentally that that's often where the best innovation comes from, are from these small businesses, from these individual developers with a great idea, and they just need to have the access and support to be able to bring it to market.
Yeah, we are live and speaking to Blair Lyon, who is the VP Cloud Experience for Linode. If you've got any questions at all around cloud experience, around the alternative cloud, anything to do with cloud computing, let us know. We are monitoring all channels, and we will get your question across. So final call for questions here as we come towards the end of our time. Let's take this back a little bit. We've talked about, what's happened over the past few months as a result of the pandemic. We've talked about the acquisition by Akamai and where things are going to go in the near future. Where do you think things are going to go for our industry as a whole over, say, the next 10 years? What are the things that are exciting to you that you think, this is just around the corner, I can't wait for it to happen?
Well, I mean, there's so much cool stuff. I mean, but a lot of it is going to come through some of the things we already touched on. So things are going to become more portable. We're going to have more choice. We're going to have the ability to easily move workloads in and out of different environments. That'll be really exciting. We're going to be able to do things more at the edge, which is going to be awesome, whether it gets into things like serverless or other kinds of edge compute. Being able to do things that are super low, if not almost no latency, is going to open up all kinds of interesting use cases. So I'm really excited about that capability. And I think one of the things that we want to be able to do is to continue to simplify. I mean, managing cloud infrastructure is complicated, and we want to be able to continue to make it easier. The easier we make it, that means they'll provide more access to more individuals with good ideas. And I think that's what we want as a world. We want to make the world a better place, and we want to empower people with great ideas to be able to do great things. And so that's really what I see us being able to do. And if we can do this in a purpose-built technology infrastructure pure play perspective, which is really what Linode and Akamai are, then I think that's going to be exciting too. Because right now, competing against companies like, let's say, an Amazon or a Google, I mean, we don't sell groceries, right? We don't sell other pharmaceutical products or try and launch rockets to the moon. We're not in all these other businesses. All that we do is cloud computing, and we want to be able to do that end to end. We want to be able to do it in the most cost-effective way while still applying simplicity wherever we can. And I think that is going to be pretty cool because we all need to have some place to be able to build, deploy, and secure our applications. And I don't always want to do that with a provider that's going to be competing with me on the side. So pure play infrastructure partners is going to be the way of the future. And I see a lot of our peers in the alternative cloud, as they're getting bigger, their capabilities are growing, as providing, again, more of choice in that area. And that's only going to be a good thing.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with what you're saying there. I often speak to managed service providers directly and say, focus on your core competencies and resist the urge to drift too much in any different direction, because that is where the focus gets, you get distracted by things. So great to see that you're going to focus on what you do at the very best at Linode. What's next for Linode then? Obviously, I'm putting you on the spot here. We've just announced the massive acquisition, so much stuff to be shook out there. But what's next? What's coming up next?
Well, the exciting stuff right now, it's right around the corner, of course, is database as a service. So we'll be offering managed databases for our customers. The other thing, of course, is bare metal that we talked about, bare metal servers available through our API and through our cloud manager. So those are coming. And then one of the bigger things that Akamai will be able to give us almost immediately is the ability to be in more locations. And so a lot of our customers have asked for us to be in additional locations, and not just one or two or three, like another dozen or more locations. We'll be able to do in short order. So that's super exciting for our customers, because again, to do a lot of the big things that you want to do, you're going to need to have more scale, and you want to be able to get your data and your applications in country potentially. And there's all sorts of things around data privacy and getting things in region, and we want to be able to offer that capability to our customers who need that. So more locations, more services like bare metal and database as a service are right around the corner. So we're excited about that, and we'll see what's next.
Yeah, we are right at the end of our time, coming up to the end of our time here now. So we've got lots of people saying, thanks for the introduction to Linode. My pleasure. That's exactly what we do on this show. So tublog.co.uk/Linode. We've already put together some resources there, so you can go and check out the ebook, everything else. But Blair, lots of people are going to want to have a continued conversation with you, my friend. So do you dare share any contact details here for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, the best way is probably on my LinkedIn. It's probably the easiest and safest. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Blair Lyon at Linode, and be happy to help anybody out or direct you to the appropriate resource on my side to answer your questions.
Marvelous. Well, Blair, thank you for your time. Thanks, everybody, for joining us live today. That's all the time we've got for Tub Talk Live this time around. I want to give a big shout out to our partners, the team at Fresh Productions, who make this episode, who make all of these episodes possible. If you're in the technology business looking to host a live stream or an in-person event, then Ben, Richard, and the team at Fresh Productions are the experts who will make your event great. So thanks again to our guest, Blair. Thank you for joining us, everybody at home. Really appreciate it. And we will look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Tub Talk, the podcast for IT consultants. Have a good one. Hey folks, Richard here. Thanks for listening today. I know you've got a ton of options for who you listen to nowadays, so I really appreciate your support. Do you have any feedback on this episode? Ideas for future guests? Tweet me at Tublog using the hashtag TubTalk. I respond to every tweet and really appreciate your feedback. Hey team, this is Richard again. Just one more thing before you take off, and that is MSP Insights. Now, every Tuesday, I share my thoughts on the business of IT with you, the managed service community. Thousands of managed service providers already subscribe to MSP Insights. It's easy to sign up, easy to cancel. MSP Insights is basically a short email from me every Tuesday without fail with advice on growing your IT business, plus cool resources I found, discovered, or started exploring that week. It's kind of like my diary of cool things and often includes articles or books I've read, tools I've discovered, and events I think you'd be interested in, often sent to me by my friends and Tub Talk podcast guests. So if that sounds fun, a short tiny bite of MSP goodness every Tuesday, and you'd like to try it out, just go to go.tub.co/Tuesday. That's go.tub.co/Tuesday. Drop in your email and you'll get the very next one. Thanks for listening.